Okay. 71% are concerned about hallucinated data reaching stakeholders. And then we also have 57% reports increased warehouse and compute spend. Now, this is quite expected because with AI comes out of compute, right? If you're having AI to run your models for you, it may not be as programmatic or as intentional of spend as you would be. You probably run everything all the time and stuff like that, except you explicitly give it some instruction. So we've seen that a lot of businesses have had increase in their warehouse and their compute spend, and also we see that because of the number of available sources for data in the world right now, a lot of businesses are now having multiple sources of data, right? Multiple sources of data, and these multiple sources of data would probably also mean multiple data models, right, needed in those fronts. So this would mean increase in warehouse spend, increase in compute spend data warehouse. So this is really what's going on right now in this space. This is based on the reports of the survey of about 363 responded from different industries, right? So I'm just going to call that out first. And now one of the things that is still from that report, one of the things that is driving 2026 in the data and the analytics space is that AI is scaling analytics output faster than trust and governance mechanism designed to support it. And this is why in the previous slide, you see that 83% are now concerned about trust because previously people were interested in speed, people were interested in you able to get a lot of things done. But right now, that has shifted. People understand that with the technologies available, you can do so much more faster, you can do so much more, you can accelerate, right? And so because of that acceleration, there's now the divide between your speed versus your trust. So we are seeing that we are moving from acceleration into integration, and AI assisted coding moved from rapid adoption into embedded practice. So previously, people used AI for, okay, let me just I want to write the query or rewrite something. I just copy it, put into ChatGPT, and take the answer and drop back there, and it helps me get faster. But right now it's integrated. It's part of the workflow. Like I said, if I'm working on VS Code, Claude's already there. It's part of the workflow. As I'm working, I'm asking to do some stuff for me. So it's now part of the daily workflow, and so this means that acceleration has tripled in terms of speed, and enablement has also moved into reliability. So focus is now shifting from expanding access to reinforcing trust, right? Because access not just to humans, but access to AI models as well, to AI platforms or AI tools. And then we are now also shifting from a speed versus cost into a speed versus trust world. Previously, when the business side thought about speed, they also considered costs side by side, right? Are we moving fast enough, and what's the cost impact of moving fast enough? But right now, the question is not are we moving fast enough. The question is we are moving fast enough, but do we trust how fast we are moving, right? Because things are changing rapidly. The impact of AI models that we're seeing around the world in every industry is also impacting data industry. It's impacting software engineering. It's impacting what's it called? Every industry, literally finance industry. I recently saw that Claude released a feature for what's it called for financial modeling. They've also released one on what's it called, the other one on design, right? So we see that AI is impacting every industry, and data is also impacted by AI. So this implies that businesses are no longer interested, or they're no longer so focused on how fast you are going, because they expect it to go fast now because of the tools and technology made available. But right now, there is now trust, the question of trust. So performance defined by maintaining trust while moving faster. So while you're moving fast, are you able to maintain trust? Are you able to maintain quality of your data? Because if we go back to that survey, I don't think I have it here. Um, Okay, yes, this trust in data side by side can also be seen from a quality standpoint. So as fast as you are moving, the business still cares about quality, still cares about trust. And so I decided to start on this out first. I decided to start on this landscape just to provide an overview of what's going on in the industry, how things are changing. That even as you're learning right now, this is the direction you should be going because things are changing and things will keep on changing, and you need to be aware of the changes that are going on. All right, so are we on the same page? A thumbs up, a reaction, so I can be sure we're on the same page and I'm not talking too fast. Okay, it feels like I'm alone. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the A workflow, data flow. So first off, the number one thing is understanding business needs. It starts with the business. You need to understand as data professionals, you are an enabler. You are not the business person. You are not the sales person who goes out there to get sales, bring in the dollars into the company, right? You are the enabler of the sales team, right? So if the sales team has um 10,000 leads they need to follow, as an enabler, you're the one to tell them that out of these 10,000 leads, focus on these 500, right? So that's how you should think about your role. Now, for you to do that effectively, you need to understand the goals of the business. You need to be an investigator and get to the root of the problem, not just a surface request. For example, a client or a business user can come and tell you, hey, I want this dashboard, that I want to see this report from Amazon sales and blah, 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 blah. On the surface, that's a very simple, straightforward request. But however, you want to ask further, what are you trying to get out of this report? What insights are you trying to pull out of these reports? What numbers are you looking for? What decisions are you trying to make? And now this helps you to be more proactive in the kinds of solutions you provide. Because you find situations where you provide that dashboard to the client or to the user, and she keeps telling you that she's not seeing what she's looking for. She keeps telling that you've not given her what she wants. Most times they don't even know how to express what they want, right? They don't know how to see that this is my challenge. So you should be an investigator to probe further, to ask deeper questions and say, okay, what exactly are you trying to get? Is an Amazon dashboard. Okay, you can see your sales, you can see your orders, you can see your conversions, you can see your traffic sessions. Okay, I can see those things. And what decisions are you trying to make? Maybe she's trying to. Okay, is my audio breaking intermittently, everybody? Or is just Clinton?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Clinton, it may be just you. All right.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Where was I
Yeah,
saying?
go on, David. I can hear you.
Yes, you need to be an investigator to think through or ask deeper questions to understand the core need. Because her solution may not be, may not be a dashboard. Her solution may just be a weekly alert that says, hey, this is maybe she wants to know how Amazon orders are going on a week-to-week basis. Maybe she's interested, maybe they want to do a launch of a new product and they're trying to track the previous launch. So if you don't ask questions, you would not have these details, this context, and you just read that same report. But since they're talking about launch, they'll probably want to see launch dates of those products. They'll probably want to see percentage of orders that came in that previous launch and how they can benchmark it in the new launch of a new product, right? So that's why first of all you need to understand the business thing. So whatever business you're in, it starts with the business, understanding that it is not just about you, it's not about the tools you're using, it's not about your sophistication, it's not about your AI, it's about the business. So at the end of the day, you have to be able to provide value for the business. You have to think first about the business. So while you are thinking, what tool should I use? Should I use Fivetran? Should I use Airbyte? Should I use DBT? Should I use that? First of all, think what questions are they trying to answer? What is most valuable to them? How best can I enable them? How best can I help them get the business goals? What are the goals they're trying to get? Are they trying to get more people coming to their ecosystem? Okay, what is important? What are the metrics that are important for them to know where they are in getting their goals? And so those will now inform you. So as an AE, as an analytics engineer, you need to think like a head of data. Now, a head of data is not just a person who does who is an individual contributor who just performs tasks. He thinks for the business, right? So you need to think like that. That's how you can provide more value for the business because remember, you are an enabler of the business and not just a technical fellow like a software engineer. Secondly, you need to check data availability and quality. Is data available? Oh, we want to see orders, we want to see sessions, we want to know where our traffic sessions are coming from. Oh, when we launched the product last month, we saw that we had a lot of traffic on the website, or we had a lot more orders from the website as opposed to the office, the physical office. And then they are trying to know should we close our physical office and move all our operations to the website? Should we do some more marketing ads to the website? So these are questions, but then you want to ask yourself, do I have the data? Do I have the ads data? Do I have the sessions data from the website? Do I is it captured? Are the users' information captured anywhere? All these things. So you want to check this data and if they're available, okay, what state is it in? What's the quality of this data set? Are they in a granular are they in a granular state? Are they aggregated? Are they clean? Are they fresh? Are they stale? So that's some things you think about while you are trying to prepare a pipeline that helps you pull out the data from different sources into um data warehouse so you can be able to help provide enablement for the business users. You also want to learn to document your source table. So identify the sources you have, identify the what's it called, identify the available data. You want to begin to document them clearly. And as we move further, I'll explain more about why documentation is now much more important today than it was a couple of years ago. You want to add stuff like freshness test in place. You want to identify primary keys. You want to have column level documentation within your tool of use. In this case, I wrote DBT, just in case you're using DBT, for example. But whatever tools you're using, you need to have in place some form of documentation because this is very, very important. And then as you begin to prepare your data, because at the end of the day, you are like a chef, right? You want to prepare your data for business stakeholders to eat, right? You want to cook, all right, as you say, you're cooking, and your data has to be ready for them to use, right? Oftentimes, when you go to prepare a meal, you have to go to the market and get the ingredients, clean it, wash it, cut it, chop it, boil it, parboil it, do a lot of stuff before the final food is ready. Now you have to do that whole cooking process, cleaning it, washing it, preparing it, steaming it, slicing it, dicing it, whatever needs to be done to make the food come out well. And it's in that phase you begin to plan your grains and your dimensions. You ask yourself, okay, for each of these data sets, for each of these metrics that are needed, what's the smallest screen or data set I need? And what would be the available dimensions that I need to slice and dice these data sets to make sense to the business users. Now, speaking of grains and dimensions, because I'm defaulting to star schema, but then depending on the modeling path you choose to go, you can make that choice as well. But essentially, all will still revolve around the smallest grain because at the end of the day, you want to be able to roll up from your smallest grain. So, for example, um, let's see, still talking about Amazon orders, for example, you want to pick the smallest grain, let's say the order line item, right? And then you want to understand what that grain signifies. When there's quantity on the order line, what does that signify? When there's sales on the order line, what does that signify? Um, the product of that order line, what does it signify, right? And then you now identify the dimensions on which that order line can be sliced and diced, right? That is important because the reason why you have to start with the smallest grain is so that you can easily roll up to higher dimensions. So from the order line, you can roll up to the order level. From the order level, you can roll up to the daily level. You can roll up to the weekly, monthly, yearly, quarterly level, right? But then you start at the smallest grain, regardless of whatever you're doing. And then the next step is you now prepare to deploy. That's in development, and then you prepare to deploy in production, and it should look like you're ensuring that you have a scalable DAG. Your DAG is within your DAG essentially just shows how your model is flowing from one table to another, from one model to another, right? This could be in any tool whatsoever. You want to ensure that your DAGs are scalable and not cyclical, right? They are sequential. They are moving from left to right and not moving from right to left, so moving in a cyclic manner, but it is sequential from right to left. Model A produces Model B produces Model C produces Model D, right, and stuff like that. And then we want to have testing in place as well. One of the things about analytics engineering that came in this role was the idea of software engineering best practices. And one of those best practices is testing. Many years ago, or up till now, engineers were the first people to deploy testing in their workflow. An engineer, a software engineer would not deploy a product without having unit tests in place. Those unit tests helps him to identify when there are failures or when there are bugs before it goes to production. Now, well, previously for data folks, even before the rise of data tools as we know them, there was really that idea or that concept was not actively used. But one of the concepts that is actively used now and necessary is the concept of testing, right? So you want to have a testing framework in place that allows you to test your data, document it, also manage your orchestration, right? How do you bring in new data rules from your source into your final consumer layer, right? So that's your orchestration process. How do you continuously, sequentially, and in a cadence frequency, bring in your source, your raw data that is coming in from the sources into your production or your consumer layer, right? And then also backward compatibility, so you can either roll back if the case may be, and this version control comes in as well. Like I said, software engineering was really had all these things in place, but with data over the years, data has now scaled up to this to use these practices like backward compatibility, orchestration, testing in place just to ensure that things are done in a more engineering style, right? As opposed to just a manual open the database, query stuff, update stuff. Right. Can be interesting. Yesterday I was trying to just quickly do something. I said let me just quickly go to the database and just update it straight from there. I don't have time. I was trying to work fast. I missed one of my where statement. I went to kind update two records as opposed to one record, and I shout, "Away!" Thank God. So, however, that was not a high risk endeavor. I wouldn't have done that. But so essentially, I'm saying that if you had these things, if I had gone through the normal process, I wouldn't have made that mistake to update two rows as opposed to one row in production, right? So that is why we have all these things in place, like your testing framework, your orchestration to handle all those things sequentially, systematically, to so that things are tracked. There is logs for every action that happens and stuff like that. And then finally, you want to build your consumer data products. Primarily this is also changing, right? Someone could say this is dashboards, and but this is dashboards, this is reports, and these are also AI powered interfaces, right? Right now, your stakeholders do not just want to see dashboards; they want to talk to your data. They want to ask what is revenue for last month, and data will answer it, right? Because they're using ChatGPT already. You're not going to blame them, so you also have to learn to provide those consumer facing reports in that way. All right, all right, all right. Any thoughts, any questions? I can go ahead, Abby.
Yes, you can. I don't think I'm looking at the chat box. Before you continue, please, if you have a question, you can just put on the chat box, right? So that way it doesn't disrupt David's flow. So how do you can continue?
All right, thank you. So, what does this look like on a day-to-day production? So, essentially, you will write SQL models. Essentially, I tend to use DBT often most of the time, 90% of the time. So I'm within DBT, I'm writing SQL, I'm building models, and then if you are familiar with Python, you can also write your models in Python as well. You're also maintaining pipelines, you're debugging failing jobs, you're managing requests. I think last night as well, there was a failing job, so I had to debug what was going on that job, right? So essentially what happens like day to day. You are just checking, you have alerts for your pipelines. When the pipeline fails, you get the alert to check it out, to debug what's going on with it. If it requires a fix in the data, you fix it in data, stuff like that. You're managing requests, you get a request from the client and say, hey, we want this report. Oh, we asked the AI this question and didn't give us the right answer. Right. So just managing requests from here, from there. Oh, we have this new business. Want to understand more about our traffic session. They want to connect to a what's it called? and web analytics tools, maybe like Heap and stuff like that. How do we do that? And what are data points and stuff like that? So you have all those conversations. You also be doing a lot of code reviews, right? Because like I said, one of the goals of A today is to allow us to work like software engineers. And one of the things of software engineers is code reviews. So you don't just make changes in production. So you have peer reviews, you write the code, you make an update, you create a PR, someone reviews your code, you review someone else's code, is approved. If there are comments, you put the comments, you fix them, is approved before it goes into production. You manage your CI/CD to ensure that as changes are made within development, the changes are deployed into production in a continuous manner. You can do that in any way, whether with DBT jobs or DBT Cloud or GitHub Actions or other tools as it may be. You also want to be monitoring your data freshness. You want to have test failures in place. You want to also monitor your pipeline alerts. So this is part of observability of a data pipeline. You want to be able to catch things before they go downstream to end users. Remember, there are people who are trusting your dashboards, who are trusting your AI tools, who are trusting reports. So you want to be able to monitor things that's happened there before they get it. Because that's the thing about trust. So they may tell you that, oh, I noticed that I asked this question I asked the AI bot this question and it gave me this answer. You want to be able to have captured that first before they capture it, right? So that way it gives you trust. It increases trust because they know that you're not leaning on them to capture things before it happens. You have a system that tracks these things. And so those are some of your like data freshness, your testing in place, your alerts, could be your AI alerts and stuff like that. And then you're collaborating with data engineers. So in teams that have so this is like in an ideal world where you have a large team. So let's talk about a large team like OpenAI or a large team like I think a couple of months ago, OpenAI was recruiting for analytics engineers. So OpenAI would have their data engineers core, would have their analytics engineers core, would have their analyst core, have business teams core. So in a large team, in a small team, it may be maybe one DE, especially if they have multiple like a barrage of data sources that are custom. Um, Analytics engineers or analysts. So you collaborating with everybody, business stakeholders, right? Because you're working with everybody. For the engineers, for example, you're working with them to understand more about the sources, to understand what's happening more upstream. For the analysts, you're collaborating more with them to help them understand what you have provided for them. For the business stakeholders, you're able to collaborate with them to get more context into what they are doing and how they are doing it, so you can design your models to help them answer their questions. So you are more like in the center of everybody, collaborating with everyone. And you also now begin to treat documentation as a first class citizen. Many years ago, documentation was treated as an afterthought. Was now you want to begin to treat documentation not as an afterthought, but a part of your core initial thoughts. And the reason is because with AI, documentation is very, very important. And if the world and your team would be depending on AI for any form of response or anything, you'd need to ensure the AI has enough context. And you have to treat documentation with that level of importance. And yeah, most time maintain organized data sets. So there may be a change in business logic, there may be a change in some assets no longer required, need to be deprecated. You just need to update those things and then maintain those things. So when building a consumer facing report, your stakeholders have to talk to your data, like you said. The requirements when building it for CEO will be different from someone who's not part of the company. Essentially, yeah. So when you say talking, have to talk to your data, do you mean like chatting with your data or like talking to the report? I'm not sure what the talking part means. But the second part, yes, correct. Requirements will be different. So if you have an investor facing report, it will be a different the construction of that report will be different from how you construct it for internal facing reports, right? So yeah, and also access control, who sees what, right? You don't want everybody in the world to see everything in the dashboard. So for the external facing ones, you just only provide what is required to be seen at that time, right? And then the rest is internally. So requirements will be different. Yeah, so you start from least access in that case. Okay. All right, so what does data flow look like? You move from your sources to your injection. You want to ingest data from sources. Store them in data warehouse, transform them, you clean up and do some enrichment, and then you put them into consumption layer. The consumption could be BI or AI tools. I mean, transformation tools could be any tool, whatever you're using. Your warehouse is where you have handle compute and storage, your ingestion, extracting the data, your sources or whatever sources your business is using. I believe this is clear to everyone on the call, so I didn't to hammer this so much. Then you something also very important is your data modeling technique. So data modeling is very important for you because you're going to be working with different models or rather with different businesses, and that would with different businesses and different goals, and so that would inform the kind of modeling techniques to use per that or per case, right, on a case basis. But essentially most times we default to star schema, as that would oftentimes handle a lot of the use cases, except on edge cases where other people want to refer to other forms of modeling. Your star schema, you have a central fact table surrounded by dimension tables. You have your snowflake schema, normalized dimensions, branching even further. And this reduces redundancy at cost of joint complexity, but the joint is now much more complex compared to your star schema that is just one dimension joint to fact table. For your snowflake schema, you have a multiple joins from your dimensions to your facts because the dimensions are now snowflaked into is now branched, is much more normalized. Um, one big table, right? Everything is pre-joined. Everything is pre-joined into a single white table. It's great for BI tools and for AI consumption. So for AI consumption basis, you want to use one big table, right? It works well for AI consumption outputs, right? And then activity schema. Um, Best for event-driven modeling. So event-driven like web sessions, like mobile apps and stuff like that. You have that like available. That's activity schema works on that point. Okay, yes, I'll make the slide available to the team so they can share it. So what are some important things to note? In AE, one of them is your SQL mastery. You need to understand SQL. Part of the reason is because you're going to be working there. So you're working with the data. Data is in data warehouse. Data warehouse is queried in SQL, structured query language. So you need to understand how to extract that data using SQL. That's just it. Not because SQL is one powerful thing. It's just that that's where data is. That's where you have to get it from, right? When you're working with unstructured data, images, you can find other ways to do that. But then essentially, most of the data is in structured format, so you interact with it in structured format. So you have to understand the skill. And then version control, Git, how do you use branches? How do you open and close PRs? How do you do CI/CD for continuous integration and deployment? Your data modeling, you need to understand this primarily because this helps you know what to use per use case. Should I use a schema for this business, or should I use that schema for this business? Right? And then you need to understand the business domain deeply. This can be learned, right? Ask a couple of questions, read a couple of articles. You could begin to understand the business domain and begin to define your models in a way that aligns with that business model and helps them get the answers they are looking for. Because at the end of the day, it's about the business. It is not about you. Okay, okay. All right, and then we have quality and testing. You want to ensure that your data quality is top notch. So one of the ways you can have this top notch is by proactively putting testing in place. Stuff can come from upstream, either from the sources, from human input and stuff like that. So you want to catch it before it goes downstream, right? And also context engineering. Now, this is very important for us because as analytics engineers, you are the owners of the context. And so that means if anybody is trying to build context for an AI solution, you are the one who handles that. And that's where context engineering comes in for AI in this day and age. And that involves metadata, description, semantic layers for your AI. Okay, so what is context engineering? Just to provide some thoughts on that. Um, it was said, or it is said, that 2026 is the year of context, and context is information, and for analytics, that's our metadata. Context engineering is designing the right information environment so that AI and humans can generate correct and trusted output from your data. All right. So essentially that is what it is. It's making the right information, it's designing the right information environment. So there's an information environment, but you want to design in such a way that AI can pull that context out of it part-time on a need-to-know basics. And this has to be intentional. This you don't just drop the data or the descriptions or the metadata or the information or the context randomly. You have to be intentional and have a design on how you want to provide that context so that it is understandable and usable by AI and humans as well. And this context could take different forms like column descriptions, metric definitions, um, metric definitions, filters definitions, SQL instructions, custom instructions, right? This is how your LLM understands your data. And then the semantic layer, semantic layer essentially helps you define your metric once, and this can be used everywhere, both by humans and by AI. So you define what revenue is once. You have your semantic view, your semantic layer that just defines those metrics once in one place. And then you have your agent instructions, which could be like SQL instructions. It could be taxonomy guides, how we talk about these things, or groupings, right? That's the thing. Or for example, like any question that has to do with Amazon, D2, Amazon, Shopify, group them under D2C and stuff like that. There could be SQL generation rules like always use the left join, don't use an outer join or a full join, always filter an online order type and stuff like that, or provide a business context to query correctly, business context. It could be a business context like every first of the month is every sales attributed on first of the month always aligns to second day of the month because first of the month is a public holiday. Those are just form of those are just some context that you provide in your context layer so the agent can be able to provide answers the same way an analyst will provide answers. Think about your agent as an analyst, right? But an analyst that does not know anything about the business. The analyst has SQL skills, the analyst has experience, but doesn't know anything about your business. Doesn't know how you operate, does not know what revenue means for your business, does not even know where it is, right? Right? Not because it does not know how to calculate it, but it does not know you, it does not even know where to get data from. So that's where all this matters. And data contracts, schema enforcement, ensuring that upstream changes to also silently break downstream AI and BI consumers. And why does this matter? AI won't fix messy foundation. It just makes the lack of discipline much more visible. And this was a quote by Bruno. Bruno is one of the DBT champions as well. He said AI will not fix a messy foundation. So all these things we've talked previously in the past is about just building a right foundation. Now that's why this is last. Once you've built a right foundation from all these points, right? Your AI now has a found now is now standing on a solid foundation to provide insights for the business. So what are some key principles you want to always have in mind is how do you write your code? You always want to be dry. Don't repeat yourself. So if you find yourself using the logic in one model, two models, three models, probably that's a use case for a macro, right? Or a package, right? And always get to use your reference, your ref function if you're using DBT. So you don't want to always repeat yourself because you want to work in a modular fashion. And that's one of the reasons why or how DBT works. DBT works in a modular fashion. So I could build a staging model right now in a staging layer or a clean model, and then I use my ref function and reference that model somewhere else. So it's almost as I'm calling a model or a model rather. For example, you can think about it as a function, but now a more flexible function you can always call just from using a from statement, right? So do not repeat yourself. That's how you work. If you find yourself repeating the same logic in many places, in multiple places, maybe time for you to take that logic that you're repeating and put it in a macro or something so you don't have to repeat yourself. And then you want to build a model in such a way that they are idempotent, right? This means that the model produces the same results every time with the same amount of input. So it doesn't mean that your source data would not change. Of course, source data will change, output will change. But if you run the same model with the same inputs, the output should always be the same. So this way there's consistency, there's trust on your queries and what they are doing. And also want to have the principle of incremental loads or incremental runs. This is because not every of your models require a full refresh. And then this is not just limited to DBT. Within Snowflake, there's Snowflake dynamic tables that allows you to do transformations within Snowflake, right? So you could set for those orchestrations in such a way that those models are reproduced on an incremental basis. The same way you do your data load on an incremental basis, right? It also helps from a compute and cost standpoint. And then also data contracts, right? Schema enforcements and agreed interfaces. You want to be sure that when there's a change upstream by developers, you are aware, and so that a random change doesn't break things downstream before it gets there, your build will fail, right? Also performance as well. You want to also understand that you are taking costs. As you are using that tool, whatever tool you are using, you're expending cost. And so you want to be aware that your tools or warehouse is optimized for performance and for cost, right? So that as you're providing enablement for the business, as you're providing the resource the business needs to answer their questions, to do their tools, to do their jobs better, provide higher value, you are also ensuring that your tools are performant. Observability, you want to know when things break before stakeholders do. You want to have monitoring in place. It could be in different forms. Just want to have those things. These are like basic principles you have at the back of your mind when building production. Right? These things help you protect yourself, protect the business, protect the team, protect everybody from hazards on the job. What does a tool stack look like? So core tool stack would be like a transformation layer where you have stuff like DBT core, DBT cloud, Snowflake dynamic tables, Excel. I put Excel there, it's transformation tool. You can clean things with Excel. Google Sheets, data form, Google data form, right? You have your data warehouses, anyone, Snowflake, BigQuery, Databricks, ClickHouse, there are lots. Just depending on your tools or depending on your use case rather, right? Depending on your use case. Ingestion tools, there's a lot as well out there. There's Airby, there's Fivetran, there's Teacher, there's Tuari, there's Meltano. There are quite a lot in the market. So depending on what you need. Your BI tools could be Looker, Omni, Power BI, Metabase, Tableau. Now you don't need to learn all these tools, right? You probably just need to learn one and be able to learn fast on another one. So one of the things I didn't add there was the ability to learn fast, right? So your ability to learn fast. Yes, Excel is very important. Excel is very important. Your ability to learn fast, right? And that's why one of the reasons to say Excel is important. Most of all the BI tools, the new generation BI tools, they are taking Excel formats. So they allow you to be able to work as though you're working in Excel. For example, Omni has that. I don't know if Metabase has that. But Omni is one of the BI tools that is they just even raised again in billions. I believe in billions, yeah. Yeah last month, right? So, and that's their strategy is one of their strategies having an Excel layer within Omni. So Excel is still valuable. Then your AI and semantic layer, this could be anything. There are several AI there are several ways you can deploy your AI semantic your AI solutions or rather consumer facing solutions. Could be Snowflake Cortex, could be semantic layer, could be Cube, could be Claude, could be anything as long as it has AI in it. So and the orchestration could be DBT Cloud, could be Airflow, could be Darkstar, the other tools out there as well. Version control, you have a lot of options. GitHub, Git, GitLab. For data quality, you can use DBT test, you can use elementary. There's an elementary package within DBT. You can use them Great Expectation. There's a DBT Great Expectation package. A lot of tools out there. So essentially, this is what your tool stack should look like. I'm putting AI now because 2016 has changed. Anywhere you go to act, anywhere you go to now, they will probably tell you about AI. So it's important for you to understand what's available, what's possible, and how you can begin to provide such solutions. Okay. Okay. So what does career growth looks like? There are two parts. There's a technical side and a business side. For a data engineer, there's just technical side. For an analyst, it could be more of the business side if he's interested. He or her is interested. But for the analytics engineer, there's both sides because you have both skills. You understand the technical side, you understand the business side. You need to you need to understand the business side to survive. You need to understand the technical side to survive. So you need both skills. So that's why you have both opportunities on both sides. So on the technical side, you can move to senior role, to staff role, to principal A role, and your job role will still be around data modeling, architecturing, building internal tools and packages, open source contributions, performance and skill, specialization, context engineering for AI system, right? Analytics for a business part, you're moving towards data strategist, analytics manager, head of data and VP. You're not thinking more from the business standpoint. Data strategist in the stance like if you say you have a business a need for data and AI in your business. Now, how do we align data to align with your business strategy? How does data become a player, not just a passive player, but an active player in your data strategy? And with that data strategist information, we are able to provide more context, more guidance to the technical folks so they can begin to implement what you want to implement that is strategic, defined, and has clear outcomes and clear outputs. Okay. Yeah, so more around business strategy, data strategy, team management, mentoring, cross-functional leadership, um, KPI ownership, metrics ownerships, and also own data roadmaps. So you prepare data roadmap to own them and stuff like that. So on a high level, that's really what's expected on that front. Okay. So quickly, I'll just walk through a marketing analytics case study for a global beauty brand, D2C e-commerce and retail distribution. Essentially, one of the use cases within that client, so within that brand would be for marketing, fragmented marketing data across different sources, no unified view of spend, attribution, or ROAS, right? And the goal is to have a single source of truth for marketing performance accessible to both analysts from a reporter standpoint and not technical stakeholders, maybe assessing it through AI and yeah, from AI use case, maybe Slack or whatever its case may be. So, um, okay. Let me speak to that here. So essentially, what does that look like? This project just covers everything from source injection to AI-powered natural language querying. So essentially, you have these clients that wants to understand more about their marketing use case. You want to better identify their um, marketing platforms. Could be Google Ads, paid ads, or rather Amazon ads, TikTok ads, Meta ads, right? And all these platforms, one of the important things here are like the spend, the revenue, attributed revenue, first touch attribution, last touch attribution, how is attribution captured, multi-touch and stuff like that. Right. So you want to get all those data sources in the data warehouse in the first layer. Maybe you have your staging layer where you normalize all these sources normalize them based on like independent standalone, and then an intermediate layer that begins to consolidate these sources together so you can have a consolidated view of spend from all these platforms, revenue from attributed revenue from all these platforms, how attribution works across these platforms. Okay. So and then distribution. So from a technical standpoint, Fivetran helps you pull in data. DBT helps you do that transformation within Snowflake reporting. You begin to do some reporting within Looker. And then for your AI front, you utilize Snowflake Cortex to do your AI enablement piece of things. And your AI enablement piece of things could be Slack, could be Claude, could be Snowflake Intelligence. So a user asks in Slack, what was our ROAS in Meta last week? And Slack bot receives the message. This is just all technical jargon. But essentially, Slack bot receives the message, Cortex queries, Snowflake generates the SQL, executes the SQL, and the Slack bot provides the response in the format he has been instructed to provide it. And this also aligns with any AI interface you are using. So the metrics and KPIs delivered. So marketing performance like ROAS by channel, by campaign, customer acquisition cost across paid channels, lifetime value with cohort analysis, multi-touch attribution on your first touch or last touch or normalized touch or attribution across the different touch points of that customer from a revenue standpoint and an order standpoint, and also spend by channel, spend broken down by day or week, cost per mil, CPC, click-through rates, all these efficiency metrics are normalized across platforms, right? And you want to make these metrics available via your BI reports, dashboards, and also natural language within Slack in this use case. Well, it could be on Cloud, could be on whatever you're using. And on the other side, retail operations is it D2C, so they have this in place, but I think I'm focusing more on the marketing standpoint as I did not include this within the sources I provided. But then if those are available, want to provide like your retail sell through rate value for different retailers, your weeks of supply, your EDI order fill rate, revenue by channel, your blended CPA, channel mix, your revenue, percentage of revenue by acquisition source, right? So these are just end to end how that looks like without showing any code, but on a high level that's really what this whole stuff looks like. The goal is to help the business answer these questions, and everything you're doing at the beginning is just to help them answer these questions in a clean and consistent manner. So every other thing is just a foundation to help you provide these answers. And so you need to understand what the questions are, understand why those questions are being asked, and then use the tools you have available to you to provide those answers. So that is the end of my talk for today. I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you.
Yes, it's really to convince us. Thank you so much. That was quite detailed. Um,
You,
before I forget, people are on the chat box and they're asking for the slide. So definitely, you guys are going to get the slide as well as the recording for the session. And yes, thank you for the reactions. So um, I know it's time for Q&A, and this was a very insightful session. Very insightful. Um, and everybody's talking about analytics engineering. It's a buzzword now, you know. And then people are not really sure what they were doing. And I was very happy when you brought up the career path for data engineering, for analytics engineering, right? So I want to just ask about two questions before I throw it to the audience real quick. So for someone, I know you probably said it in person, maybe I missed it while you were speaking, but for someone starting out, as an analytics engineer, right? How early should they decide between the technical part or the business part? Like, do you have to explore both first before you decide, or is it a personal conviction? Like that particular part, how do you decide which one is which and which one is best for you?
I would say leverage the opportunities you have at that time. So if you are in a place that gives you an opportunity more from the business standpoint, then consider that. If you're in a place that gives you an opportunity more from a technical standpoint, consider that. If you're in a place that gives you both, do the one that you like. I think it's not anyone that interests you the most. If the technical side interests you the most, stay there. If the business side interests you the most, good here. So why did I say based on the opportunity you have? Because you don't want to have an interest in a place and then you don't have the opportunity to and then you don't have the opportunity to do it. Right. So that's the only way you can actually know what it feels like. Right. So if you're in a place where you have opportunity for technical one, go for it. See what that looks like. Enjoy it. If where you are is opportunity for business side, move in that part. Enjoy it. If where you are gives you both opportunities, the one that
Good.
interests you the most, go there. So just it's not that deep. If you don't like it at some point, you can always switch. So that's my thought. So I don't think it's that.
Okay, but then again, I know somebody is probably inclined to ask, but I'm going to ask anyway.
Mhm.
Um, which part tends to offer the fastest career growth? Is it being technical or is it more business oriented?
Why do you say career goal or career growth?
No, growth, like faster career growth. Do you have to become very technical, or do you have to, because we've heard things like technical guys are always in the background. Nobody really sees them. They just do all the clicking and clicking away. And then the people that do businesses, I guess they are front facing, right? They are the ones speaking to the client. They get to have a faster trajectory in terms of growth because they are seeing them. But from your experience so far, like which one of them has a chance or basically tends to offer faster career growth?
Okay, so I think my opinion from what I've seen, I think it largely depends on where you are, right? These are not really these are not really things that are cast in stone. These experiences are dependent on these people and where they were at that point in time. So for someone who is in a tech first organization, the tech roles would probably have more aligned growth plans for them, how they would move from one role to another, from one level to another. For businesses or for roles that are more in tune with the business standpoint, they would have more clarity or more in tune growth plan for that. So I'm not saying it's one or the other. I'm saying first of all, it depends on where you are, organization you are. That organization, where is their inclination? Are they inclined more in technical standpoint or the business standpoint? That organization, do they have clear growth paths or growth plans? And so once you've understood
Hmm.
that, you can now begin to leverage that opportunity. So if they have a clear growth plan and their inclination is towards the business side, then my guy, move to the business side. If they have a clear group plan and inclination towards technical side, move to the technical side. Because company A can move faster technically, company B will move faster business side. So it just depends on where you understand dynamics where you are, and then you leveraging on that. So that sounds selfish, but I think that's how it should be.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that. There's some questions on the chat box. I'm going to read some of it. We have one from Ebenezer Tomoye, and he's asking, when building a consumer-facing report where stakeholders have to talk to your data. Sorry, let me rephrase. When building a consumer-facing report where your stakeholders have to talk to your data, like you said, the requirements when building it for a CEO will be different from that of someone who is not part of the company, right?
Very correct. Very correct. Very correct. Very
Okay.
correct.
And then the second question on commutatus. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he says, thank you so much, David. This is really detailed. Please, as a business intelligence analyst looking to switch into analytics engineering, what what's a structured learning roadmap you can suggest? I don't want to go about learning in bits on YouTube. I hope I got that correctly.
Yeah, you can just use Claude or ChatGPT. Tell it I'm a BI analyst. I want to switch to analytics engineering, and I want to be able to do this and this and this and this, and I want to have this skills, this and this and this and these skills. Give me a 3 months learning plan. It's going to give you a 3 months learning plan, right? A structured learning plan, and you can use that to learn as side by side other resources available on the internet, communities, and stuff like that. But the simple answer is going to give you a structured learning plan. Claude can do that for you. Open ChatGPT can do that for you in a very quick. Just give it details you want. What are the skills you want to get? What are the outcomes you want to get? Give it the time frame. I'm going to give you a structured learning plan. And then, yeah, I hope that
Hmm.
helps. I hope that was not
Uh,
disappointing. But that's what I would do. So I don't know.
Okay, well, okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah. Good afternoon, next to
Good afternoon, David. Thank you for adding value, for adding impact. Thank you for what you do. So
yes, sir.
please, my own question is kind of based on experience, and I want to probably have a like from your own understanding. So I want to probably let me say pick from your response and your wealth of experience. So currently, right, my understanding is from your word or according to you, data engineer, you are a chef. And whatever you are cooking, right, whatever you are cooking, there's a need for all the stakeholders, irrespective of their level, to trust whatever you are cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Where I work currently, right, I dropped the analytics role. Then I moved to inventory and analytics. However, the oh, these ones are cooking beans, so I swear they are cooking beans. However, the the business now, right? We have the IT team, and for me to manage the inventory and analytics part of the inventory use, because I currently work with MTN and we are handling the fiber business. So where I'm going is these guys day in day out. It's been since I think last quarter of fourth quarter of 2025. Everything they are giving you, everything they are giving you is nonsense. For example, they gave you, you say, give us this, give us that. They give you a data. And by the time you download the report, if David today is spelled correctly as capital letter D, capital letter E for David and Effiong and his space, tomorrow you will see David underscore E Effiong. Next tomorrow you will see small letter David, small letter Effiong. And it's so to me, right? I'm like, what are these people actually doing? Because I want to believe they are the
Hi,
chief.
Adolo, can you get to the question? I need to consider this.
Okay, so my question
This
is, my
going to
question
be
is, how can I, how can I probably, I'm thinking they are missing a part, right? And nobody is telling them. How can I, from the data world now, reroute or direct, probably maybe advise them on what to do and what to do so that the data we are getting will be consistent, the data we are getting will be cleaned, or in fact, the consistency, because the level of cleaning back and forth, and they are the one giving it. So I just want to get your own understanding. What advice would you probably in our next meeting, if I can channel them through this route, so that they will make the work easy for us, which is one of the main reasons why I want to leave the analytical role and probably go back end. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. So that's more of an organizational issue that will require a lot of negotiation, a lot of conversations to get consensus on how things are done. So it's operational, is how things are being done, is how data is being captured, is how data is being passed from one point to another. So operations would have to come to a consensus and say, perhaps is the tool we're using not good enough? Do we need to adopt a different tool? Do we need to put some data validation in place when data is being collected? Do you want to give some rules from the data collection standpoint? But essentially, it's a operations issue that has to be dealt with from a negotiation standpoint. And if you have the power, you can make it like a rule to set those expectations on what should be done, how data should be gotten, how it should be written down, data validation in place and stuff like that, or which tool you should use. So, but then those things are a little bit beyond your control. But that's where your data sponsor comes into play. And data sponsor are the people who are actually making use of the data downstream. You want to let them know that this data has been impacted by this and this, and these are a couple of things we need to change because they would probably have the power to go upstream to have those conversations to change things. Because this is a call, this is like a change. You want to change things essentially. So that change cannot just happen from you. It has to come from downstream top users going back to meet upstream top users, get a contract. I don't like in data contract or like a written signed contract. It can be a sense if it works, but essentially an understanding, a memorandum of understanding on how you would work together on what is expected between both teams. So I would say that's not so much on you, it's more on the people in charge.
Thank you so much, David, for that answer. I don't know. I hope your question was answered properly. Someone is asking on the chat box. His name is Victor. He's saying, "What certifications do you suggest would be relevant to get so as to have an edge when it comes to job sourcing, and what fields or companies to target in terms of project building?" I hope I'm reading that correctly. Did you
Yeah,
get it?
Yes, 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 yes. Certifications in terms of job sources. So I believe the data job and a job, what fields or it depends on. Okay, for certifications, I don't think I can. I have a certificate to recommend these days. Reason is because certifications are good, they are nice. They're nice to have. But I'm not sure anybody really cares so much about certifications in this part of the world. Some part of the world do care about it. I know places like Canada, they care so much about certifications, right? So if you're in Canada, cool. Please can do find the tools they're using more frequently. I hear they use more Power BI, there are more Microsoft there. So you could do certifications over there. So essentially think about it like this. What tools or what companies are predominant in that place? Maybe it's Snowflake based, like the US, do Snowflake certifications. If it's Microsoft based, do Microsoft certifications. So think about it like that. But more than certification, people care about more what you can do and not what you say you will do. So it's more of show than tell. So how do you show? You show from your portfolio, from your projects. Now that leads to the next question is what fields or companies to target in terms of project written? I would say the one that interests you, right? You want to be able to talk about something that interests you. It's not just about the fields or the companies to target. No, what's interests you? Does this project interest me? If it interests me, I'm going to do it. If it doesn't interest me, I'm not doing it, right? You don't do something you're just doing for the sake of I'm tired. Because you're doing it for free. You're not being paid for it. You're doing it to learn. So at least you benefit something. If there's anything, just benefit the interest. Find this interesting. Right? So I think almost every project I did earlier when I was starting, I found the projects fascinating and I wanted to know something about it. Right. So just think about it that way. If a particular industry interests you, then pick your projects and work on it. Just enjoy yourself. And it should not be about work.
I like the way you answer your questions. Enjoy yourself. Like no
Life
stress. Just
life is hard
pick
at
it up
times,
and
so
just do
just enjoy yourself.
it. All right. So we have about two more questions on the chat box, and I'll open the floor to more people. Hi, Ebenezer. Can you unmute and just ask a question rather than because the question is very long. Hi, Ebenezer.
All right. Yes, I can hear you.
All right, go
Good
ahead.
afternoon. Okay, sorry, let me just open this one out. All right. So um, the question I asked earlier was, when you're talking about the characteristics of a production grade model, production grade system, pipeline, rather, you mentioned idempotency. So I wanted to like ask like what can actually lead to a model not being idempotent. So that was the question.
Okay,
And
okay.
then the other one that I wanted to, okay, should I go with the
Yeah,
second
go
question?
ahead. Yeah,
Or
go ahead.
okay, so also when you were talking about the career path for AE, analytics engineers, I mean that's like the first time I'll be hearing about that, like the business part and the technical part. But it looks as if it's a more foreign reality. Although I don't really know much as well, but it's something I just wanted to like get your thoughts on. Because what me I know is that analytics engineer is not so much known in Nigeria yet. Is either if you just have the knowledge of DBT, you just say, okay, go to the part of data engineers or go to the part of data analysis, right? So, but I just wanted to like ask, is it also reflective of the reality here in Nigeria, or it's a different thing? That was the two questions I wanted to ask. And yeah, the presentation was amazing. Thank you for
Okay.
your time.
Thanks so much, Eben. So I think one common instance for independency would be more around them. So, for example, you have an incremental model, but you don't have a proper merge logic. So you are using an append, but you don't define a unique key. So probably what would happen that on each runs, you'd be getting duplicate records coming in because you're appending incrementally, but no unique keys to duplicate those records. So I think that's like a a use case really more around your incremental models. So you need to be able to ensure that your incremental models are clean, clear, without duplicates. If not, for each run, even though the inputs are the same, you'll be getting duplicates from those runs. For AE parts. So I would think about it like this, right? Um, so I would say don't focus on the name so much. It's just a naming convention. Just a naming convention. Are you aware that today in 2026, software engineers who understand AI are now being referred to as AI engineers or AI software engineers? The names are changing, but that's in quotes, AI software engineer is the person who understands some AI. And because you understand software engineering and best practice on deploying apps in software, it's able to transfer that skill into AI world so you can deploy software, so I can deploy AI models into production. Essentially, same concepts transferable from core software engineering into AI deployment and AI engineering. Now, I said that to say that you don't want to think so much, you don't want to box yourself so much on a name because as I'm here talking to you now, for example, if Boris Cohen, the guy that did Cloud Code, come and call me and say, David, how far? Come to Anthropic. We want you in Anthropic. Come and be software engineer. Will I say I'm an analytics engineer? I'll go and join them. Or come and be AI engineer in Anthropic. I'll go and join them. Right? So what is important is the skills. So that's why, like you said, in Nigeria, an AE would stand as a data engineer, would stand as an analyst because he has the skills, and that's what's most important. So wherever you find yourself, you want to use your skills to leverage the opportunities. So you don't want to let your skills should not limits the opportunities you would take because you have the skills, but rather because you have the skills, it opens up the box of opportunities that you would take. So if you are in a one-man company today and you are a data engineer and OpenAI calls you and they have full teams of engineers, full teams of engineers, full teams of analysts, you go there as an analytics engineer. So it's we essentially what I'm saying is that we evolve as the rules and opportunities made available to us evolve. So you don't want to box yourself. Hey, you're in Nigeria now, you're an A, you have the skills for data engineering, an opportunity for data engineering comes in, take it, go in there, do your job. While you're there, Canada opens up, you go into Canada, there's Anthropic division, Canada an art engineer, you go in there, continue your job. So nothing, that's how I think about it. Except I'm thinking about it the wrong way. So let me know if I'm getting your thoughts. So I just feel like it's not that complex like that.
So you have this confidence, so you see it's not that complex. Sometimes I just think like this. I
You
think
said?
one of the problems I think you have this thing where you say it's not that complex. It's just this basic. It's just this. It's just that. Uh, I think one of the issues that Nigerians have, which is what I like about the session today, is the fact that we overthink things, right? We overthink a lot of things, right? I remember when I was speaking to Ayo Ade a while back, I was saying something about I'm coming, just one minute. Okay, I was talking to Ayadi and he said something around DevOps, I've forgotten the full context of the conversation. And he just said it so casually, like, it's doable, it's just to read and, just do more projects. And I like, that's what I like about the air of this class, this session. Sorry. But yeah, just so that we can wrap up quickly, this is 12:30. I can take one more question. There's a question on the chat box that is saying, what challenges would you say you notice in junior AE as analytics engineering roles when they join a new company?
I would say similar to I'm not in Canada. I'm in Eco. Those of you in Canada, please send me visa. I'll come and visit you. I would say it's the same thing you'd experience when you onboard an AI agent for the first time. The AI agent has the skill, so I'm speaking on the premise that you are skilled, you understand what you're doing, you understand the basics, you know what you're doing. That's one. So it's the same way you're onboarding an AI agent for the first time. AI doesn't know anything about the business. So I think the common challenges would be more around understanding the business, understanding how best to add values beyond your skill. Because one of the first things you need to consider as a junior is that one, you are an individual contributor to the larger goal. And so your goal is to make that contribution in a magnanimous, compelling manner that cannot be disputed. You want to make that contribution so well that that contribution is noticed. So you want to focus. You want to have clarity on what are my tasks, what is expected of me. We are building a marketing analytics for a client. My goal is to build the data models that has been modeled and designed by the senior. That is my goal. Your goal is to do that explicitly in a clean manner. And I think one of the trends is talking about that is that a lot of juniors don't necessarily learn to take initiatives as an individual contributor. You don't want to just think that I'm an individual contributor, so I just do that, right? No, you need to also learn to take initiative for opportunities you can see to improve on workflow of the business, or improve on the business, or improve on the team, or improve on the modeling, for example, that was provided by the senior. So just learn to take opportunities. But see, one of the ways you can ace that very well when you join a new company is to first of all listen, ask questions, ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I feel like oftentimes you don't ask questions because we're afraid of sounding dumb, but it's better to ask questions and get answers than to act on what you're not sure, and then you now waste time and effort in the wrong direction. So ask questions, learn about the business, ask more questions, learn about the business, get clarity, and execute with precision of Iron Man. Just execute fire. So your clarity would align your execution, and then your execution is is what would speak for you. Because at that point, you're only being judged by your execution. Nobody's expecting strategy from you. Nobody's expecting guidance from you. They're just expecting execution. So you have to execute flawlessly on that point. So I hope that helps. Yep. Miss Uma, I think I am done. Miss Uma, are you there? Anybody home?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Is it
Can hear you, sir.
okay? Is it the time I go? You went to look for food. Okay. I guess this is the time I go. All right. Thank you so